Gauteng's MMC for Health and Social Development has expressed her disapproval of the slow justice for victims of sexual assault. Mpho Phalatse was due to testify in a case she attended to during her clinical forensic years 5 years ago. Well, often sexual assault cases drag on for years with frequent postponements. But what seems to be the problem? Why is it happening? Let's chat now to MMC Mpho Phalatse about this. MMC, good evening, and thanks for your time. And like we said, that you were due to testify in this case that does go back 5 years. That didn't happen today. You've had first-hand experience of the snail's pace when it comes to cases like this, especially sexual assault cases.
Very true, Becca. I'm a qualified sexual assault care practitioner. I've been doing cases of sexual assault for years now. I've stopped now since I'm an MMC and I'm in full-time office. Last year, I got subpoenaed to testify in a case that I saw in 2010 in the Northern Cape. That was 8 years. So this sort of thing happens all the time. And that's why in my current position, I still keep on going back to court, because there are cases that I saw 5 years ago, 4 years ago, that are only being heard in court now. So there are a lot of delays in the criminal justice system. There could be delays relating to the actual survivor. There could be delays relating to the suspect. There could be delays relating to the courts. So to just take you through the process, when somebody is assaulted, they come to the police station to report the assault, or they could come directly to a medical legal clinic. For instance, we've got one at Hillbrow CHC, at Barra, as well as Discoverers within the city of Johannesburg. And then an FCS officer or detective gets deployed to handle the case. They then bring the rape kit and all the necessary documentation and then hand over to the doctor, who then does the examination and then gives back the rape kit to the detective. This must be taken back to the police station. Now, the first delay is some detectives keep the rape kit in their offices and delay submitting it. They're supposed to submit it and register it.
Why, though?
It's just negligence,
Laziness,
it's just,
what is it?
Yes, they're overworked, they're undercapacitated, whatever, but that happens. So that's the first point of delay. They're supposed to register it in what's called an exhibit register at the police station. If, say, for instance, this case happened over a weekend, the labs cannot accept the kit over a weekend. They're then supposed to keep it in storage at the police station in a specific room where it's stored, and then they must check it out. Sometimes there's a delay there as well. They forget all about it and it sits in that storage room, until they come back for it.
And that's, of course, not even talking about the shortage of rape kits that we've been experiencing as well.
Yes. And so that's another delay that can happen. And then it goes to the laboratory. Now, there's a backlog there as well. We don't have enough laboratories. So you can wait. The court expects at least up to 4 to 6 months turnaround time on DNA tests. You can wait up to 3 years for your DNA to come back. This is a test that can be done in 2 days in a private facility.
Are these problems specific to South Africa? I mean, do you have knowledge of how cases like this are dealt with in other countries?
No, I think a lot more swiftly than this. I do think it's a South African problem. I think there are capacity issues, but I think there's also attitudinal issues. There's a lack of supervision, a lack of oversight, and a lack of compassion for the survivor, who has to now drag along all these years.
So how does this compromise the actual case then? I mean, yes, we get the delays. And how do the delays compromise the case? What happens to these survivors? Or sometimes, they might be victims. Some may not have survived such attacks. What happens to justice for them?
The case can be compromised, because if it drags for so long, some people withdraw, some people lose interest. You've got witnesses, for instance, that get subpoenaed, and employers will have an issue because they're always putting in leave to come to court. So with all these delays, you can have key witnesses withdrawing from your case, and you can end up losing the case because of these delays.
The double trauma.
Yeah, it definitely is. And also the trauma, of course. I mean, today, for instance, the survivor was not in a good state. 5 years later, still crying, as if it happened yesterday. She hasn't had closure.
Of course, yeah. But, tell us what is working out there for women. Let's talk about maybe health centres. We know that there were some of these set up it was meant to be a one-stop shop. What do we know about how those are functioning?
Well, those are functioning really well. I think we just need to get the information out there so that women know about them. I personally prefer that they come directly to those centres and not via the police station, because when they get to the charge office, sometimes they are subjected to secondary trauma by officers who don't necessarily understand. They're not FCS detectives. They don't understand the space. They might be insensitive. They might ask very, very personal questions in front of other complainants. So I personally prefer that they come directly to the Tutugela Care Centre or Medical Legal Clinic, where we can then phone the FCS unit, and they will deploy the detective that's on standby. That works much better because it's a warm environment. It's not a police station. They go through trauma counselling. Our nurses will do the preliminary investigations, draw bloods before they're seen by the doctor, and the doctor will do a little bit of counselling as well, collect the evidence, you know, and give medication. Of course, we treat for STIs, HIV, pregnancy prevention, that sort of thing. And then we hand over to the police. That's working really well, I
You know,
would say.
MMC, what I find is so ironic is that we're so obsessed with preparing for the fourth industrial revolution, yet we can't get something like this right.
Very basic things,
Very
yes.
basic things. Okay, well, I wish you all the luck
Thank
going
you.
forward with this. And let us know if there's been any improvement
Will do.
as you go forward. Thank you very much. That's Mpho Phalatse, City of Johannesburg's MMC for health there. Thank you very